wait for Aya to come back. If anybody has questions for the two speakers, please do ask. I'll have to ask for help from those of you who do speak Arabic because I'm sorry, Noor, I did not understand what you said. Let's see if Aya can be brought back.
Can you hear me?
Aha. Hello?
Yes.
Are you there? Excellent. For some reason we can't see you, but hopefully the Zoom will start working. I guess I wanted to say something. I mean, sorry, Noor, maybe you can sort of try and connect to what I'm saying, but thinking with the other two papers, I've sort of been thinking about this kind of notion of, in Aya's paper, there's this sort of idea of the ruin yet to come and these kinds of graves that are really almost making visible the violence, the ongoing violence. And in your paper, Huda, I think there's something about the disavowal of violence. And it was interesting that you also ended with a grave in the end. And I wanted to hear a little bit more about who those graves were and how they connect to the ghostly figures. And then in Aya's case, I mean, wow, seeing those graves was like really, really moving. And I was wondering what is happening with those graves now? Do we know if they have been destroyed again? And when you speak about the sort of ruin yet to come, I was thinking about this sort of, almost this sort of anticipation of defeat. Sharam Khosravi, who's an Iranian anthropologist, has recently written a paper on kind of defeat as method. And I think that's something that a lot of people are speaking about. So I don't know if this connects at all to anything that you said, Noor, but maybe we can speak about that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to add just something. When we are talking about the motherhood, almost we're talking about it as a space of survival. I'm a good woman if I take care to my children under genocide. And this is important for the international project. But let us think that the motherhood, it is not just for survival. I think it is not just, it is not survival. It is for the life. So we should give the women this space in our research. It is not related to talk about survival. They want to talk about this point all the time, but we deserve the life, and we should start to think what it is, the life. And I want to add something quickly. It is related about introduction to knowledge, and what I means when I'm talking about the introduction knowledge. For that, I based on the myth. It is mandrake plant, in Arabic تفاح الجن. And there is a myth around this plant. على لسان البلانت, it's talk. If any person dare to dig into my roots, my scream will swallow you to death. So I think when I'm thinking about what it is, what I mean when I'm talking about the introduction knowledge, based on this mandrake plant, it is 3 actions: the act of digging into the roots, the acts of roots, and the acts of scream. And if I want to deconstruct the roots as a symbol of power systems, I should dig into the roots. And how I can do that? I can do that through the narratives of the people, the archives, the arts, not just go to the library, for deconstruct the roots as a symbol of power systems. And if I do that, they subject me to death because they swallow me to death. And this is what happened with Ghassan Kanafani, because he introduction the knowledge, I called it المعرفة المزعجة. They killed him, and he introduction this knowledge based digging into the roots, especially the narratives of the Palestinian people. Thank you.
Thank you. Aya, did you hear the question?
Yes. Okay, so there were two parts. What is happening to the graves now of the expansion of the cemetery? I mean, right now, I'm pretty sure that some of them are destroyed again, and this is where the idea of the ruin to come. So the ruin to come is also an essay by Walid Sadiq, or a list of essay in which he describes this protracted war. But in this case, I'm kind of talking about it in a way where the graves or the designs of the graves are kind of, they have like this acceptance that they will be destroyed. So it kind of foreshadows their own destruction, and it lays it kind of accepts, or it does not cherish the stone, and it accepts that the graves should be opened, and it's particularly in this kind of opening of the grave that the realm of the living and the dead can kind of resist together. So this is where the idea of an anticipation of its own destruction. Yeah, I think that answers the question.
Thank you. Huda, did you want to say something?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry for rushing through the last bit. So the grave that I showed very briefly is one of a series of what we call kramats in Cape Town, which are these considered the shrines of various kinds of holy people, and are part of what is considered to be a circle of saints who surround Cape Town. There's the connection to histories of slavery is really, and the buildings that I spoke about, there's no direct connection necessarily. So when I'm talking about the ghost, I'm looking at effectively the colonial archive and its kind of remnants, and then also the way people talk about ghosts within the society. But when you had slave revolts, we don't have maroon societies, but when we had these kinds of smaller revolts, it was typically the mountains that were spaces of refuge. And so these kramats are considered as part of this kind of lineage of people, often related to sources of water as well in the mountains. So, and with a series of really interesting stories because of the multiplicity of where people come from and how these figures then kind of become like holy people in the Cape. So the one I showed is, the site I showed is Tanabaru, which is overlooking the city of Cape Town, and it's someone who was exiled at the Cape from Indonesia and then in Robben Island, and then is one of these people who set up an early Arabic school in Cape Town. So there's this kind of relationship to them. Those grave sites are also really important, though, in terms of the history of claiming space in the city. And so another part of this project has been looking at these various cemetery revolts from the 19th century. And I think that's really, and so I found, Aya, your paper really interesting, although I'm talking about a very different context and time, because the claim to spaces to bury people and is really important in terms of how how up until today, how people use the claim of bodies buried as a way to reject new developments, including kind of various sorts of neoliberal developments now, but also being moved from particular places. So being able to walk with a casket to the burial site is really important. And one of the biggest kind of post-slave revolts happens around around a kind of attempt to close a cemetery. And this is something that's ongoing, which is, I think, really interesting, to think with.
Do we have any questions from the floor? There? Yeah.
Hello, thank you so much for everybody's presentations. I have a question to Huda. Like, seeing your presentation made me realize I've never actually seen pictures of these houses in South Africa, but the other type of building it did bring to mind, which is maybe much more dominant in our imagination, is the plantation home in the US, right? These like kind of white plantation homes. And I was wondering how, and these are usually problematic, partly because they're so fetishized as touristic sites and wedding venues and so on. So I was wondering how these architectural histories compared, whether there were a direct comparison to be made between these houses you've seen in South Africa and the white plantation homes in the south of the US.
I think there's so many of the houses that I show, many of the original, a lot of the Cape Dutch architecture are tourist sites, so they're the vineyards that you can go to, and they're really important. And part of this kind of erasure of histories of slavery continues into the present, also in terms of questions of class and race and being sites typically of white leisure and black labor into today. So I think there's definitely a kind of interesting relationship with the US and plantation homes. But I think there's also certain, I think there's a kind of different understanding of questions of race because of the history of slavery in South Africa relative to the history of apartheid. But definitely. And I think also to say in South Africa that maybe even the term plantation isn't really used, and I think that's part of this kind of discourse. So they haven't typically been seen as part of that lineage, where I think that's now starting to change.
Thank you. My question is to Noor, actually, because you beautifully illustrated how basically speaking to people on an everyday basis can reveal some very hidden cases of basically specters of the undercommon with these women in several spaces that are collapsing or have no space to express what they're going through, but they have expressed them to you probably. Have you seen any other moments where they're able to at least release and express these emotions of fear, of collapse, of on what's happening to them?
When I'm thinking about this, I have a lot of friends, but almost of them has a cancer. So sometimes I think there is a lot of groups, or there is a people, and how I can treat with the people and how they can treat with me. If I look at the people when I start to work on a research, it is I think it is not a group of women has a cancer. It is not a group of people, their home destroyed under genocide. It is not groups. It is people under genocide. And this is important when I look to the people. I'm talking about a specific people or about issues related to a group of women. But I think the important it is look about all the people, because not just a group's people. Not our women in the West Bank, our women in the Gaza Strip, our women was outside Palestine. We are a Palestinian people. We should look at the Palestine as whole when we are talking about any details or any topic, because Palestine not West Bank and Gaza as it is a Palestine, and the women has cancer. It is not just a woman has cancer. It is a Palestinian people live in Palestine.
Okay, hi. My question is for Aya. Thank you all for the presentations. Aya, I'm just wondering if you can explain a little bit about the context of the relationship between the state and the cemeteries. Like, just for me to understand, are they trying to use the land just for development because it's nearby and it's convenient, or is it because they have a problem with the way that people are burying their dead? Do they see it as a form of resistance against the current regime in any way? Is there anything that the people do that the state doesn't like, or is it just merely a matter of land speculation?
There is no contention between the state and the cemeteries. Usually, each municipality decides what they do and how they leave the land in each village. So now, with the expansion of the cemetery, the municipality kind of acquires land to bury the dead people, and so the decision of what to do with the rubble of the cemetery and how to design each expansion or like urban expansion is up to the people of the village. And like, you know, in the psychoanalytic sense also, when gravestones are inscribed, I can read my father's name, I can read my grandmother's name, and so when it becomes rubble and this, you know, is destroyed, then I'm weeping on all of the rubble. So I think this, you know, it's a kind of question of scale, but also with the design of the new cemeteries for the martyrs, there is kind of this like uniformity that comes out of the design. So they're all in the same size, color, same marble, same design, and they're all kind of serving a higher political purpose. So yeah, and it's a very politicized space. It's one that becomes representational of battles, and one that kind of demands you to like look at it in its political sense, in its collective sense. Even if each family kind of curates the artifacts of each of, you know, the martyrs, but it still kind of attests to this like larger kind of political question.
Thank you so much. That was really, really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.